The starship New Horizon moved slowly through the dark space toward the bright yellow star ahead. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge looking at the screen that showed their destination. The Kepler 442 system looked peaceful from far away, but Jake knew this would be humanity's most important mission ever. "How long until we reach their world?" Jake asked his crew. Dr. Lisa Campbell looked up from her science station. "About 6 hours, Captain. The Zephyrians are waiting for us near their home planet." This was the first time humans would meet an alien race face to face. Zephyrians had sent radio signals to Earth 3 years ago. After months of careful talk through space messages, both sides agreed to meet. The aliens lived on a water world that was very close to their star. Too close, many Earth scientists thought. Ryan Phillips, the ship's engineer, checked his tools. "One more time? All systems working fine, Captain. But I still don't understand how they can live so close to that star. The radiation levels must be deadly." Amy Foster, who handled all communications with the aliens, turned toward them. "The Zephyrians told us their planet gets hit with very strong star radiation every day. They said most life forms would die in minutes on their world's surface." Jake nodded. The aliens had warned them many times about the danger. They said the star's light and energy was so strong it would kill any visitor who didn't have proper protection. The Zephyrians themselves lived underwater in huge cities deep below the ocean's surface to stay safe. "Captain, we're getting a message." "From the Zephyrian ship," Amy said. She put the message on the main screen. The alien that appeared looked nothing like a human. Its skin was light blue and seemed to glow with its own light. It had large dark eyes and moved in a flowing way that reminded Jake of watching someone swim. This was Velthara, the Deep Current Elder who spoke for all Zephyrians. "Greetings. Humans of Earth," the alien said through the translation system. "We welcome you to our star system. But we must warn you again about the great danger. Our world receives killing levels of star radiation. You must keep your protection suits on at all times when near our planet." Jake stepped forward. "You for the warning, Elder Velthara. We understand the risks, and we're prepared." "Good. We will meet first on our ship, which has strong shielding against the star's deadly energy. Then, if you wish, we can visit our world's surface. But please remember, the star radiation there will kill any being without proper protection in less than 10 minutes." The communication ended and Jake turned to his crew. "You heard them? Lisa, make sure all our radiation detectors are working. Ryan, check all our suits and protection gear. Amy, keep monitoring their signals." Dr. Campbell ran her hand through her brown hair. "Captain, I've been studying their warnings about radiation. Their star puts out much more energy than our sun. If they're right, we'll need every bit of protection we have. And maybe more," Ryan added. "I've triple-checked our suits. They should handle normal star radiation, but what they're describing sounds much worse." Hours passed as the New Horizon got closer to the Zephyrian world. The planet was beautiful from space, covered in blue oceans, with white clouds swirling around it. But Jake could see why the aliens were worried. The planet was so close to its star that the day side must be incredibly hot and bright. "There's their ship," Amy pointed at the screen. The Zephyrian vessel looked like a giant seashell made of metal and crystal. It was positioned between their planet and its star, using the planet as a shield against the worst radiation. Morrison came, Velthara's voice over the radio. "Please bring your ship alongside ours. We have prepared a meeting room with full protection against star radiation." Jake guided the New Horizon next to the alien ship. The two vessels connected with a sealed tube so the crews could move between ships safely. Jake put on his radiation suit, even though they would be inside the protected alien ship. His crew did the same. The inside of the Zephyrian ship felt like being underwater, even though it was full of air humans could breathe. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and everything had smooth, curved shapes. Velthara met them at the airlock, along with 2 other Zephyrians. "Welcome aboard our vessel," the Elder said. "Here you are safe from the star's killing light. Our ship's walls can stop radiation that would destroy most forms of life." Dr. Campbell pulled out a small device that measured radiation levels. Looked surprised at the reading. "Elder, even here inside your ship, I'm detecting radiation levels much higher than normal space. Yes, Velthara said sadly. Even with all our shielding, some of the star's deadly energy gets through. This is why so few species can visit our system. Star radiation kills them before they can reach our world. Jake looked around the meeting room. It was clear the aliens had built everything to protect against radiation. Thick walls, special materials, backup shielding systems. They lived in constant fear of their own star. Elder Velthara, Jake said, we would very much like to visit your planet's surface, if that's possible. The three Zephyrians made quick light patterns with their glowing skin, their way of talking. To each other privately, Velthara finally answered. Captain Morrison, we must warn you one final time. Our world's surface receives direct star radiation at levels that kill most life instantly. Even we Zephyrians can only survive there for short periods in our strongest biosuits. Are you certain your protection can handle such extreme conditions? Jake nodded. We're prepared, Elder. Our suits are designed for the worst space conditions. Then, we will attempt a brief surface visit, Velthara said. But at the first sign of radiation sickness in any of your crew, we must return to orbit immediately. As their ships moved toward the planet below, none of them knew they were about to make a discovery that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. The shuttle moved down through the Zephyrian planet's atmosphere toward the surface. Captain Jake Morrison sat next to Elder Velthara, watching the aliens' glowing skin patterns flash with what looked like worry. Dr. Lisa Campbell checked her radiation detector again and frowned at the numbers. Captain, the radiation levels are climbing fast, she said quietly. We're already at levels that would be dangerous on Earth. We haven't even reached the surface yet, Ryan Phillips added. He was sweating inside his protection suit. These readings are getting scary. Elder Velthara's large, dark eyes looked at the humans with concern. Captain Morrison, perhaps we should turn back now? The radiation is already at levels that cause sickness in many species. On the surface, it will be much worse. Fine, Elder, Jake said calmly. Our suits can handle it. The shuttle broke through the last layer of clouds and the planet's surface came into view. It was beautiful, but harsh, wide blue oceans with rocky islands scattered across them. The bright yellow star blazed overhead, much larger and closer than the sun looked from Earth. The light was so intense it made everything look white-hot. There, Velthara pointed to a flat area near the ocean. We will land on that island. Remember, we can only stay for a few minutes. The star radiation there is at maximum deadly levels. The shuttle touched down on the rocky ground. Dr. Campbell looked at her radiation detector, and her eyes went wide. Captain, these readings are off the charts. We're getting hit with radiation levels that would kill an unprotected human in seconds. Is everyone ready? Jake asked his crew. They all nodded, checking their suits one final time. The shuttle door opened, and the humans stepped out onto the planet's surface. The light from the star was incredibly bright, like standing too close to a giant welding torch.
Oh.
The heat hit them. Immediately, even through their suits, Elder Velthara and the other Zephyrians followed them out. But they moved very carefully. Their biosuits were much thicker than the human suits, with multiple layers of shielding. Even so, the aliens stayed close to the shuttle, ready to run back inside. Incredible, Dr. Campbell said, looking around at the alien landscape. The star radiation here is at levels that should be impossible for any life to survive. I started unpacking some equipment to test the planet's atmosphere and soil. Amy Foster set up a communication device to send messages back to their ship. All the humans moved around normally, as if they were just visiting any other planet. The Zephyrians watched them with growing amazement. Velthara spoke quietly to the other aliens in their light pattern language. Their glowing skin flashed faster and brighter, a sign of excitement or fear. Captain Morrison, Velthara said slowly, "Your people seem very calm for being standing in such deadly radiation." Jake shrugged. "The sun on our homeworld can be pretty bright too. We're used to it. But this is not just brightness." The elder said, confusion clear in his voice. "This is killing radiation. It destroys the cells of living beings. Even we cannot stay here long without getting sick." Dr. Campbell was taking readings with her instruments. "Elder, what level of radiation do you consider safe for your people?" Velthera looked at a device on his suit. We can handle perhaps 1/10 of what we are experiencing right now. Above that, we begin to suffer radiation poisoning.
Above
1/5, we die quickly. Lisa looked at her own detector. We're getting hit with radiation at least 50 times stronger than your safety limit. That's impossible, one of the other Zephyrians said. No living thing can survive such levels. Your detection equipment must be broken. Ryan Phillips laughed as he dug a hole in the rocky ground to collect soil samples. Our equipment is working. Fine. We humans are just tough, I guess. The three aliens moved closer together, their skin patterns flashing rapidly as they talked among themselves. Elder Valthera finally stepped forward. Captain Morrison, I must ask you to do something that will seem strange. Please remove your helmet. Jake's crew looked at him with surprise. Elder, are you sure that's safe? Amy asked. Safe. Valthera's skin went completely dark for a moment. Captain, if you remove your helmet, the star radiation will kill you. In less than 1 minute. But I must see if you humans are truly what you appear to be. Jake reached up and started to unfasten his helmet. Captain, wait, Dr. Campbell said. Maybe we should test this slowly. It's okay, Lisa, Jake said calmly. I trust our new friends. He pulled off his helmet and stood in the blazing light of the alien star. The radiation that the Zephyrian said was deadly washed over his face and head. Jake took a deep breath of the planet's air and smiled. The air here is actually pretty good, he said to his shocked crew. A little thin but breathable. The three Zephyrians stood frozen, staring at the human who was standing unprotected in what they knew was lethal radiation. Their skin patterns stopped flashing completely, something that happened only when they were in total shock. Impossible, Valthera whispered. The radiation levels here should have killed you already. Your skin should be burning. Your cells should be dying. Jake looked up at the bright star overhead. It's warm, but not too bad. Kind of like a really sunny day back home. Dr. Campbell slowly reached up and removed her own helmet. Then Ryan Phillips did the same. Finally, Amy Foster pulled off her helmet and shook out her hair. This is actually quite pleasant, Lisa said, feeling the warm breeze on her face. The star feels energizing, not dangerous. Elder Velthara backed away from the humans, his skin now flashing in patterns of fear and awe. You are standing unprotected in radiation that kills most life forms instantly. You are breathing it in. It is touching your skin directly. And you are not dying, should we be? Amy asked innocently. As Velthera said quietly, you should all be dead by now. The humans continued their work on the planet's surface, collecting samples and taking measurements. They worked for over an hour. In the intense star radiation, chatting and laughing as if they were on a picnic. The Zephyrians watched them the entire time, their amazement growing with each passing minute. When they finally returned to the shuttle, Elder Velthara sat in silence for a long time. His skin patterns showed deep thought mixed with something. Like fear, Captain Morrison, he finally said. What we have seen today should not be possible. You have survived, without protection, in radiation levels that would kill our strongest warriors in seconds. This changes everything we thought we knew about your species. Jake sat down across from the alien leader. Elder, is this really so unusual? Surely other species can handle star radiation too. In all our centuries of contact with other life forms, we have never encountered any being that could survive what you just did. Most species die instantly in such radiation. Even the strongest can only last a few seconds. The shuttle lifted off from the planet's surface and headed back toward the ships in orbit. Elder Velthera stared out the window at the humans' vessel, his mind racing with the implications of what he had witnessed. Captain Morrison, he said slowly, I must ask you not to share what happened today with any other species. Not yet. What we have discovered about your people's abilities. It will frighten many beings across the galaxy. Jake looked confused. Frighten them? Why would our ability to handle sunlight frighten anyone? Velthara's skin flashed with patterns of deep concern. Because, Captain, if humans can survive in radiation that kills everything else, what other impossible things might your species be capable of? As the shuttle docked with the Zephyrian ship, None of them realized that this question would soon spread across the galaxy, changing forever how alien civilizations viewed the newcomers from Earth. 3 weeks after the meeting with the Zephyrians, Commander Steve Parker sat in his office on the Earth space station, reading reports that made no sense. Messages were coming in from alien governments all across the galaxy, and they all wanted to know the same thing about humans. Sure. "We have another urgent message from the Quartz Collective," said Lieutenant Ben Carter, bringing in a crystal data pad that glowed with geometric patterns. "They want to know if the reports about human radiation immunity are true." Steve rubbed his tired eyes. "Wait, that's the 15th message today. What did the insect people from Trappist say?" "The hive mind is demanding proof. They think we're lying about our abilities. They want us to prove we can survive in star radiation." Dr. Helen Brooks walked into the office carrying a stack of files. She was the lead scientist studying what happened with the Zephyrians. "Commander, I've been analyzing Captain Morrison's mission reports. What those humans did on the Zephyrian planet should have been impossible. But it wasn't impossible," Steve said. "They did it. They walked around in deadly radiation like it. It was a sunny day at the beach." "That's exactly the problem," Helen said, sitting down. "Every other species in the galaxy needs heavy protection to survive even weak star radiation. But humans just took off their helmets and started working. The aliens are scared." Ben looked confused. "Scared of what?" "It just showed we can handle sunlight better than they can." "Think about it," Helen explained. "If humans can survive radiation that kills everything else instantly, what else might we be able to do that they can't? The aliens are wondering if we're some kind of superspecies." Steve's communication system buzzed with another incoming message. This time it was from the Shadowkin, the night-dwelling people from Proxima Centauri. They only came out during eclipses and lived underground to avoid even the weak light from their red dwarf star. "Humans of Earth," the message said in a voice that sounded like wind through caves. "We have heard impossible stories about your kind. We request proof of your claimed abilities. We will arrange a test." "A test?" Steve asked. "What kind of test?" Answer came 3 days later. A formal invitation arrived from the Galactic Council. All the major alien species had agreed to build a special testing facility to see if humans really could survive deadly star radiation. The test would be watched by representatives from dozens of different worlds. "They're calling it the Solar Furnace," Dr. Helen Brooks explained to the team that would represent humanity. "It's a massive space station built around a star in the Kepler 186 system. It can focus and amplify star radiation to levels that would melt most metals." Admiral John Hayes, who would lead the human team, looked at the technical plans. "They want us to walk into a concentrated star beam." "That's exactly what they want," Helen said. "They think it will prove we're lying about our abilities. They expect us to be killed instantly." Dr. Peter Grant, the mission scientist, studied the radiation levels they would face. "These numbers are incredible. They're planning to hit us with radiation levels 100 times stronger than what we experienced on the Zephyrian planet." Maria Lopez, the team's engineer, shook her head. "This is insane. Even if we can handle normal star radiation, this is like asking us to walk into the surface of a sun." "But that's exactly what we need to do," Admiral Hayes said firmly. "If we don't prove our abilities, the aliens will never trust us. They'll always wonder what else we might be hiding." The human team traveled to the Kepler 186 system in a specially built ship. When they arrived, they found the largest space station any human had ever seen. The solar furnace was a massive ring built around a yellow star with focusing mirrors and amplification equipment that could concentrate starlight into a beam of incredible power. "Welcome, humans," said the station's controller, a tall, thin being from the Crystalline Collective. Its body was made of living crystal that rang like bells when it moved. "I am Resonance of Truth. I will oversee your test, Admiral." Hayes said, though he wasn't entirely sure that was true. The testing chamber was a huge room, the walls made of the strongest materials known to the galaxy. Dozens of alien observers watched from behind multiple layers of protective shielding. The Zephyrians were there, along with representatives from the insect hive mind, the gas-dwelling floaters, and many other species. "The test will begin with standard star radiation," Resonance of Truth announced. This level kills most life forms in minutes. The chamber, filled with brilliant light, as the solar furnace focused the star's energy into the room. The human volunteers, including pilot Chris Jenkins and scientist Dr. Angela Ross, walked calmly into the blazing light.
Ow.
Radiation levels are 10 times what we experienced on the Zephyrian planet, Angela reported through her communicator. I feel slightly warm, but nothing dangerous. The alien observers made various sounds of surprise. The insect people buzzed loudly in their group communication. The crystal beings rang like wind chimes. The Shadowkin retreated further behind their shielding. Increased to level 2, Resonance of Truth ordered. The light became even brighter. The radiation levels were now 20 times what had been deadly on the Zephyrian world. The humans continued to move around normally, even removing their helmets to breathe the chamber's air. This is impossible, whispered one of the floater representatives, its gas-filled body shimmering with disbelief. Level 3, Resonance of Truth, said, its crystal voice showing stress. The chamber became so bright that the alien observers had to turn down their viewing screens. The radiation was now 50 times the deadly Zephyrian levels. The humans were not just surviving, they seemed to be getting more energetic. I actually feel great, Chris Jenkins reported, doing jumping jacks in the blazing light. This is like the best sunny day ever. Level 4, Resonance of Truth announced. The radiation was now at levels that would vaporize most known materials. The chamber's walls began to glow from the intense energy. The human volunteers were bathed in light so bright it hurt to look at, even through protective screens. Still feeling good, Dr. Ross reported cheerfully. Though I'm starting to get a nice tan. The alien observers fell completely silent. They were watching something that went against everything they knew about biology and physics. Final level. Resonance of Truth said quietly. This is the power of standing on the surface of a star. The solar furnace reached its maximum output. The chamber filled with energy that could have powered entire cities. The walls began to warp and bend from the heat. The human volunteers stood in the center of what was essentially a small, artificial sun. Wow, Chris Jenkins said, his voice filled with wonder. This is amazing. I feel like I could run a marathon. After 10 minutes at the maximum level, the test ended. Chamber's energy died down and the humans walked out, smiling and healthy. The alien observers sat in stunned silence. Impossible, Resonance of Truth said finally. The radiation levels you just survived would destroy our strongest protective equipment, yet you show no signs of damage at all. Admiral Hayes looked at the gathered aliens. So do you believe us now? We believe, said Elder Valthera speaking. For the Zephyrians? But now we must ask, what other impossible things can your species do? And more importantly, added a representative from the hive mind, are you a threat to the rest of us? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The humans had proven their incredible ability to survive star radiation, but they had also raised new fears among the alien species of the galaxy. As the testing station began to shut down its systems, Admiral Hayes realized that proving human abilities might have been the easy part. The real challenge would be convincing the galaxy that humans were friends, not something to fear. 1 month after the solar furnace test, Captain Linda Foster received the strangest message of her career. It came from deep space, from a region that was marked on all galactic maps as forbidden territory. The message was simple but shocking. Humans of Earth, we have watched your test. We invite you to meet us. Come to the solar zones. We have been waiting. Captain, this has to be fake, said Dr. Carl Brooks, the ship's scientist. Nobody lives in the solar zones. Those areas are too close to stars. The radiation would kill anything. That's what everyone thought about humans too, Captain Foster reminded him. She was commanding the exploration ship Daybreak, specially built for dangerous missions. Maybe there's more life in the galaxy than we know about. Sam Parker, the ship's engineer, looked worried. The solar zones are restricted for good reason. Even our best equipment might not handle the radiation levels there. But if there really are people living next to stars, said Nancy Gray, the team's diplomat, then we need to meet them. This could change everything. The Daybreak left Earth space and headed toward the closest solar zone. These were areas around particularly hot and active stars that no galactic civilization had ever explored. The radiation was supposed to be so intense that even automated probes died within minutes. As they got closer to the zone, their instruments started showing incredible readings. The star they were approaching was much bigger and brighter than Earth's sun. The radiation levels were already higher than what the humans had faced in the solar furnace test. "Captain, we're getting another message," Nancy reported. From inside the zone, the communication screen showed something impossible. A being made of what looked like living fire stood in what appeared to be empty space. Round it, energy danced and flowed like water. Its voice was like the sound of solar wind. "I am Parian, speaker for the Luminari. Welcome, Starwalkers of Earth. You are the first beings in 10,000 years who can enter our domain." "Your domain?" Captain Foster asked. "You live in space?" "Live where the star's energy is strongest," Parian replied. "On worlds so close to our suns that they burn like coals. In the corona of stars themselves, where the solar collective, the children of stellar fire." The daybreak continued deeper, into the solar zone. Soon they could see a planet that glowed like a red-hot ember. It was so close to its star that its surface was molten rock and metal. No normal life could possibly exist there. "That is our world," Parian said, "one of many. We invite you to visit if you can survive the journey." Dr. Brooks looked at his instruments and shook his head. "Captain, the radiation levels around that planet are 1,000 times what we faced in the test. The surface temperature is over 800 degrees. This is impossible." "Maybe not," Sam Parker said, checking the ship's systems. "Our shields are holding fine. The radiation doesn't seem to be hurting us." The daybreak landed on what seemed to be a landing pad made of crystallized lava. Soon as they stepped outside, the humans felt the incredible heat and radiation. But instead of being painful, it felt energizing, like standing in perfect sunlight. "Incredible," Dr. Brooks said, taking readings. "The radiation here is so intense, it should have killed us before we even landed. But I feel stronger than ever." 3 beings approached them across the burning landscape. Parian was made of flowing energy that looked like a living solar flare. Another was covered in crystal skin that reflected the starlight in rainbow colors. This was Helios of the Heliodites. The third seemed to be made of pure light itself, one of the mysterious radiance entities. "Welcome to our realm," Parian said. "For countless ages we have watched the galaxy from our stellar homes. We saw the Cold Dwellers build their civilizations in the dark spaces between stars, but we could never join them. The cold zones would freeze our energy and end our lives. Just as our worlds would kill them," added Helios, his crystal voice ringing like bells. "We're prisoners of our own power, bound to the hearts of stars." Captain Foster looked around at the incredible landscape of flowing lava and crystal formations. "But why did you contact us? What makes humans different?" "Can survive in our realm," the radiance entity said, its voice like music made of light. "You are the first species we have found that can walk in both the cold zones and the stellar domains. You can be the bridge between our worlds." Dr. Brooks was taking readings of the 3 beings. "Captain, these entities are made of concentrated stellar energy. Now, they're living beings, but they exist in ways that our science says should be impossible. Much like your own resistance to radiation," Parian pointed out. "We have studied your recent tests. You not only survive in stellar energy, you seem to grow stronger from it." Jake Rodriguez, one of the crew members, was testing this theory. He had taken off his protective suit and was standing in the direct light of the nearby star. Instead of being burned, he seemed to be glowing with health and energy. "I feel amazing," Jake reported. "It's like the star's energy is feeding me." "Somehow, yes," Helios said excitedly. "You absorb stellar radiation and convert it to biological energy. This is a gift we have never seen in any other species." "But why is this important?" Nancy asked. "Why did you need to find us?" The 3 beings looked at each other, their forms dimming with what looked like sadness and fear. "Because," Parian said slowly, "we are not alone in the galaxy. There are others who feed on stellar energy. But unlike us, they do not create or preserve. They consume and destroy." "The Void Swarm," whispered the radiance entity. "They come from the dark spaces between galaxies. They eat the light of stars and leave only cold death behind them. Helios's crystal form rang with distress. They have been moving through the outer rim of the galaxy for centuries. Star after star goes dark as they feed. Soon they will reach the inner systems where the cold dwellers live. We have fought them alone for so long, Parian continued. But we are few, and they are many. We need allies who can fight in the stellar realms where the battle must be won. Captain Foster began to understand. You want us to help you fight? These void creatures, more than help, the Radiance entity said. We can teach you to use stellar energy as a weapon. Your ships can be powered by starfire. Your people can learn to channel the power of suns themselves. Dr. Brooks looked excited and terrified at the same time. The technology they're offering could change everything. Unlimited clean energy, the ability to travel between stars instantly, weapons that use the power of suns. But first, Helios said, you must understand the true nature of the threat. The Void Swarm does not just destroy stars, they consume the energy that makes life possible. If they reach the inner galaxy, every world will become a frozen tomb. Parian gestured toward the star overhead. Come, let us show you the weapons of stellar fire. But know that once you accept our gift, your people will be forever changed. You will become true children of the stars. Captain Foster looked at her crew. They were standing on a world that should have killed them instantly, talking to beings made of living energy, being offered powers that seemed like magic. But the choice was clear. Show us, she said. Teach us what we need to know. The star overhead blazed brighter, as if responding to her words. The solar collective began to share their ancient knowledge with the humans. Neither side knew that in the dark spaces beyond the galaxy, the Void Swarm had already begun its final advance toward the core worlds. The real war was about to begin. And humanity would soon discover that their immunity to stellar radiation was just the beginning of their true potential. 6 months after meeting the solar collective, Admiral Kevin Torres stood on the bridge of the Solar Lance, humanity's first star-powered warship. Through the main screen, he could see something that filled him with dread. The star system ahead of them was dying. Report. He ordered Captain Rachel King, who commanded the battlecruiser. The Void Swarm reached the system 3 days ago, Rachel said grimly. The star is already losing power. At this rate, it will be completely dead within hours.
All the day.
Enemy ships looked like living shadows against the dying star. There were huge, dark things that seemed to absorb light itself. Wherever they went, the star's brightness faded, and the system grew cold and dark. How many ships do we have ready? Kevin asked. Commander Gary Fisher, captain of the assault ship Corona, answered over the communication system. We have 50 human vessels, all powered by stellar energy. The Solar Collective has sent 200 of their energy beings to help us. Dr. Oliver Nash, the fleet's chief scientist, looked up from his instruments. Admiral, the void creatures are doing something. To the star's core, they're not just taking energy from the surface. They're actually eating the nuclear fires that keep the star alive. Can we stop them? Kevin asked. Maybe, Oliver said. We'll have to get very close to the star itself, closer than any ship has ever gone before. The human fleet moved toward the dying star. As they got closer, the radiation levels became incredible. Any normal species would have been killed instantly, but the humans felt the star's energy flowing into their ships and their bodies. All units, says Admiral Torres, Kevin broadcast to the fleet. Remember, our job is to get inside those void ships and stop them from draining the star. The Solar Collective will handle the bigger ships while we board the smaller ones. Sergeant. Mike Powell prepared his Marines for the most dangerous mission in human history.
Yes.
They would ride solar flares directly from the star's surface into the enemy ships. It sounded impossible, but the Solar Collective had taught them how to use stellar energy as transportation. Listen up, Mike told his troops, including Corporal Jennifer Lee and the rest of his squad. These void creatures drain energy from everything they touch. But we're different. We don't just resist their drain. We can actually feed energy back to anything they've damaged. The battle began as the human ships dove toward the star. The Void Swarm turned to meet them, their dark vessels moving like living nightmares through space. When the two fleets met, the fighting was unlike anything in galactic history. The Solar Collective beings fought by becoming pure energy, flowing around the void ships and attacking them with concentrated starlight. Pyrion led the charge, his fiery form growing larger as he drew power directly from the dying star. "Marines, prepare for solar flare insertion," Admiral Torres ordered. The human assault teams positioned themselves near the star's surface, where massive solar flares erupted like geysers of pure energy. Instead of being destroyed by the flares, the humans rode them like surfboards, traveling at incredible speed toward the void ships. "This is insane," Corporal Lee shouted over the roar of stellar fire. But she was grinning as she surfed a solar flare toward an enemy vessel. The Marines crashed through the hulls of void ships, their bodies charged with stellar energy. Inside the dark vessels, they found something horrifying. The ships were filled with a cold, empty darkness that seemed to eat light and heat and life itself. "The energy drain is incredible," reported Sergeant Powell as his team fought through a void ship's corridors. "But it's not affecting us the same way it would other species." Lucy Hayes, the team's engineer, made an incredible discovery. "Sergeant, I think we can reverse what they're doing."
Watch this.
She placed her hands on a section of the ship that was channeling stolen stellar energy. Instead of being drained, she began feeding energy back into the ship's systems. "The ship is overloading," Jennifer Lee reported with excitement.
Bad.
"The void creatures can't handle too much energy. It's like poison to them." Across the battlefield, human teams were boarding void ships and overloading them with stellar energy. The dark vessels began to explode in brilliant flashes of light as they couldn't contain the power. The humans were feeding into them, but the real breakthrough came when Dr. Nash, working from the Solar Lance, figured out how to reverse the star-draining process entirely. "Admiral, I think I know how to save the star," he called out excitedly. "The humans on the void ships aren't just overloading the enemy vessels. They're feeding energy back to the star itself." "How is that possible?" Kevin asked. "We're like living conductors of stellar energy," Oliver explained. "We can take power from one source and channel it to another. If we can get enough humans close to the star's core, we might be able to reignite the nuclear fires." The plan was dangerous beyond belief. A team of volunteers led by Captain Emma Collins would pilot a specially modified ship directly into the star's corona, the superheated atmosphere around the star's surface. From there, they would somehow transfer energy directly to the dying stellar core. "Are you sure about this, Emma?" Admiral Torres asked. "Sir, if this works, we won't just save this star," Emma replied. "We'll have figured out how to undo everything the Void Swarm has done to the galaxy." Emma's ship, the Starfire, dove into the corona of the dying star. The radiation levels were beyond anything ever recorded, but the human crew felt energized, rather than harmed. They reached out with their minds and bodies, channeling the star's remaining energy back into its core. "It's working," Emma reported, her voice filled with wonder. "The star is responding. The nuclear fires are reigniting." Across the star system, the dying sun began to brighten. The void creatures, suddenly cut off from their energy source, began to retreat, their ships no longer able to drain stellar. Power started to fall apart. "All void vessels are withdrawing," Captain King reported. "The star is back to full power." The victory was complete, but more importantly, humanity had learned something incredible about themselves. They weren't just immune to stellar radiation. They were living bridges between the energy of stars and the life that depended on that energy. Admiral Dr. Nash said as the battle ended, "We've just discovered that humans can reignite dead stars. Every system the Void Swarm has attacked can potentially be saved." Over the following months, human teams traveled across the galaxy, working with the Solar Collective to restore stars that had been drained by the Void Swarm. The other alien species, who had once feared humanity's strange abilities, now depended on them for survival. Captain Collins, now commanding the first permanent human base built inside a star's corona, often thought about how far they had come. The aliens who had once been amazed by humanity's ability to walk in sunlight now watched human children playing on the surfaces of stars while alien youngsters observed from protected stations. "Captain," her second-in-command reported, "we're getting a message from the Galactic Council. They want to officially recognize humans as the protectors of stellar life." Emma smiled as she looked out at the brilliant star that surrounded their base. Tell them we accept. But remind them that we're not just protectors, we're partners. The galaxy belongs to all of us. In the end, what had started as simple immunity to sunlight had revealed humanity's true purpose in the galaxy.
They were.
The guardians of stellar energy, the beings who could ensure that the lights of civilization would never go dark again. The Void Swarm still lurked in the dark spaces between galaxies. But they would find no easy prey in this part of the universe. As long as humans walked among the stars, the galaxy's suns would burn bright and strong, providing light and life for countless worlds and countless species. And sometimes, on quiet nights, alien children would look up at their stars and whisper, stories about the amazing humans who could touch the sun and make it shine brighter.